All right. Well, I've got one after the hour, so I think we'll go ahead and get started, and others can join us as they trickle in here. Um, First of all, thank you all for attending the May edition of our small business webinar series. As has been the case on an ongoing basis, the program is brought to you by kind of a variety of different groups coming together to make this program available. America's Small Business Development Centers, the Montana Department of Commerce, Small Business Administration, Montana State University Extension, who is my employer, Montana Economic Development Association, and then we also get some support from Grow Great Falls, and the University of Montana helps us bring this program to you as well. So we appreciate all of those organizations coming together to help make this available to everyone. Before we get started on today's topic, I just want to remind people our June 2nd webinar will be Thursday at 11 again for June 2nd. We're going to have Alistair Stewart with the MSU's Montana Manufacturing Extension Center being our presenter. And he's going to talk about business transition readiness. So kind of getting folks in the idea of maybe you're thinking of retiring or transitioning out of your business. What are some steps you can take to help that transition either to new management or new ownership along the way. So mark your calendars for June 2nd for Alistair's presentation for our June edition of the Small Business webinar series. Now, for today, first of all, feel free to send questions in via the chat window at any time. We'll catch those and make sure that our presenter gets access to those as we're going along. We'll also have an opportunity at the end of today's presentation if you'd like to unmute and send in additional questions that way. Happy to take questions at the end of the presentation as well. So we love to hear from you. So questions, comments are certainly appreciated in the chat window. If you don't want everyone to know your question, feel free to send that privately to me, and then I'll just read that a question has come in, and then I'll get that to the speaker. So that's a choice you've got. If you send it to everyone, of course, we'll all know who sent the question in, but if you do want to remain a little more anonymous, just select my name, and we won't, everyone won't know who sent that question in. So we're in May, which is the month that contains Mother's Day. So we happened to pick a topic that would sort of fit with that theme. And we're going to have, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but Mom-preneurs. You're legit is going to be our topic here for today. So a presenter that should be a little bit familiar to some of you, Marguerite Thordarson, is going to be our presenter. She also presented for us last month as well, so some of you may recognize Marguerite as a familiar face here. She has a complex situation of where she works, but we'll just say that she works for the Women's Business Center, but she also collaborates with the Great Falls Development Authority, the Montana Native Growth Fund, and Accelerate Montana. And if you've got 15 minutes, she can probably explain to you how all those groups fit together. But we're happy to have her for whoever she's representing today. So with that, Marguerite, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome, Joel. Thank you for summarizing. Yeah, Marguerite Thordarson, nice to meet you again. I was here last month talking about meetings, and but I was really excited about this month because this topic, Mom-preneurs, popped in my head just kind of right about the time that they were looking for a May speaker. And this is a topic that has just been kind of a buzz right now. Mompreneur is a buzzword, parentrepreneur, you know, these kind of types that are entering into the market. So I've been kind of coming across a lot of them, and I say kind of the same things to them, and I see all these things in common, and I kind of just wanted to put a presentation together to share a lot of these things and share perspectives about what each of them are doing. So this is titled Mom-preneurs, You're Legit. And my screen is being temperamental already. Let's see. What is it, Joel? We had like a, yeah.
If you can advance it on your screen, it should be good.
There we go. I got it. Yep, just needed to hit it. Okay. So just to introduce myself, I'm Marguerite, and I'm a business advisor at W.E.L.L, the Women's Entrepreneurship and Leadership Lab. and a program within that called the Women's Business Center. And I went to school for accounting, and I've been doing consulting with small business for many years. Some people call me a dreamscaper. Some people call me a fortune teller. I've been called a door kicker, but really I'm a mom. I've got 3 children who are not even children anymore. They're growing up to be wonderful people, and they're my whole motivation for doing everything. So these are some of the traits that I see in kind of other moms that I work with. And so those are sort of the reasons that I wanted to present this for you, is just what are these common things that moms are saying to me that I'm relating with. So one of the most common, or some of the common things I hear moms say over and over is that their kids are the most important things that they're doing. They're at the top of their priority list, and but essentially when their kids don't need them so much, they can work on their business. I hear that over and over, that the schedule of their business has to work around their kids' needs. I hear women say over and over that they don't know if they are an entrepreneur. I hear people say this is just a side hustle. Other things that I see moms who are entrepreneurs do over and over is I see them undervalue themselves and underpay themselves. I see overwhelm. I hear that quite a bit, that there's a lot of hours that are put into a mom entrepreneur's day between work and home. I hear or I see mom entrepreneurs not believe in themselves around being able to borrow money from a bank for their business. And then I see moms saying, you know, that they don't know if they're successful, like that they don't quite have those measures for success. So, but those great common things that I see over and over are that the kids are the top of their list and oftentimes the motivation for even starting their business, and that entrepreneurship is their way for being there for their kids, and that in being an entrepreneur, they're teaching their kids really valuable life lessons. So that's why I wanted to put this together, is because I'm trying to figure out what are these common traits that make these momtrepreneurs, or as I'd say, badass mothers. That's what these people really are. And they're growing population in business. And I kind of want to know, how did they get here, and what drove them here, and why is this number growing so much, this momtrepreneur segment? So I have a friend who models a lot of the momtrepreneur traits that I love to see over and over. And so I just wanted to tell you a little bit of story about my friend Kelly Lake, who started a laundry soap company called Kelly Green. And one of the traits that I really like and see over and over in her is that she created her business solving a problem for her baby. Her baby was breaking out in a rash. She couldn't find a laundry soap that was good for him, so she made one. And that's something I see in common with a lot of mom entrepreneurs, is their problem solving for families and children. So Kelly calls herself a momtrepreneur, and she says that her path was chosen for her because of a need that wasn't being met for her children. The other thing about Kelly that is really inspiring is that she's able to use her platform to push her own social and environmental initiatives that she wants to have in her life. She realized after distributing laundry soap for a while that the plastic was now her new mission, to eliminate that. So she started what she calls the refill revolution, and started molding her business into customers that had large kettles that would refill the soap, so that she doesn't have to deliver plastic bottles anymore. She actually just told me that recently she's streamlined her company to not distribute plastic bottles anymore anyway. So she's kind of decided that she's only going to work with customers that are in the refill revolution with her. So that's something that's so great about momtrepreneurs, is they're really able to use that platform and that brand to push their own social and environmental justice. So Kelly will say, here she's a mom on a mission. Once again, this path chose her, but she's really trying to just make sure that people understand that they don't have to choose between clean clothes and a clean environment. The other thing I really love about Kelly that I see other moms do is she really markets her company as a mother. So, she talks, part of her storytelling is a lot of her children. She puts on her Instagram page, like her little toddler playing in the mud in a little white dress covered in mud. And then the next shot is the dress hanging on the clothesline, perfectly white. It just says, "Who's your laundry lady?" She's a part of her brand is just very much, I'm a mom. So that's just another thing I see mother entrepreneurs doing these days. And that's really helping them connect with each other. And so I just wanted to make sure that all moms out there are kind of like, we're breaking these myths that they're telling themselves over and over again, and that they're telling me. One of these bigger myths is that small business is a small thing. And so I just wanted to get that out of the way, that small business isn't insignificant. It's just called small. It isn't. It actually takes up, 99% of our businesses in the US are small businesses, and they're employing 47% of the private sector workforce in the US. So technically, we need small businesses. They're really important and a big, significant part of our economy. So leaving that myth behind. Within the business, within US businesses, 40% of these businesses are being run by females. So this is not a small segment. Within the 40% of female-run businesses, 33% of those are moms. So that's actually a really big piece. It's around 13% of US businesses are being run by mothers right now. So this is actually a really big trend. The other huge trend right now is African-American women moving into entrepreneurship. And so you can kind of see the difference between, 39% of women in the country are African-American women, but 40% of female CEOs are African-American women, and 44% of business owners are African-American women. So they're actually taking up a little bit more of the share of women-owned small businesses. And this is a new trend, big growth happening just in the past few years, where African-American women are opening 89% of new businesses. So I started thinking about all of this, how are women growing so much in entrepreneurship? What's driving this? And why this significant trend I'm seeing right here. So of course, I go straight to the pay gap. I want to know what the pay gap might have to do with entrepreneurship in women. And we've been talking about this subject for such a long time, and it kind of did fall off the news around COVID, but we can definitely see from the data that COVID did not do this any good. Women have not been able to close the gap in the past few years in the US. So the normal reasons we give to the gender pay gap, women apparently work the really undervalued jobs. They work in healthcare, social work, they work in education and childcare, and these jobs are considered to be undervalued and underpaid. We knew that before COVID, but mothers also, the reason that they're making a little bit less is that mothers are making a little less than women in general because they tend to need part-time work. They need flexibility, and they kind of pay a little bit of a penalty in advancing in their career, in being able to get raises and benefits because of this need to be there for their kids. So that's just referred to as the mom penalty. On top of the gender pay gap, we've got sort of a mom pay gap. And then there's this other reason that's given over and over about the pay gap, which is essentially that women don't ask for enough pay. And this is the myth that I personally am bothered by, because I've been a professional who has been taught how to negotiate, asking for better pay, yet I've been unsuccessful with it. I've had multiple times where I've asked for higher pay and anchored a negotiation and been whittled down. I've had times where I've asked for a raise and just been declined. So I know that there's something more to this. I personally feel like, from my personal experiences, I think there's a perception around mothers that they will sort of take whatever they can get. And that's just my personal experience, but I just want to address this: women don't ask for enough pay, because it tends to put that blame on women for not standing up for themselves. But personally, I tried to stand up for myself and have actually seen a perception thing just be around being a mother in the workplace. So that brought me to this other topic, which was kind of another part of the research that kind of bothered me, because, I'm realizing that there are hidden costs to motherhood, and especially if a mom decides to have children between prime career building times, which they're saying is age 25 to 35. So apparently, if a woman decides to have children before she builds her career in that age, she has chances to, then revisit her career after children and eventually be able to close the pay gap with men. Um, but a woman who has her children between the age of 25 and 35 is missing out on huge career building opportunities, and apparently opportunity costs that could range to over $500,000 just in a full lifetime of missing out on career moving and wage building opportunities. So again, this bothered me because this is me. I actually have felt this. I've wondered why I feel behind compared to other women my age. But I had my children between the age of 25 and 30. Then I went through a divorce, and then I went to college. So technically, I didn't start building my career until about the age of 40. And so it's been really apparent to me how other women who've had 15 years of career building time and didn't have children in that time are way ahead of me career wise. And now I'm starting to realize that apparently research is saying that, I could be experiencing a pay gap of 50% right now. That I may not be able to close in my career lifetime. So that is a very interesting piece, because women are essentially pinched right between that career building time and that childbearing time that is just happens to be the exact same time periods for us, prime time periods. So this was eye-opening for me, and actually a little bit bothered me. So of course, naturally, my flow of thought went straight to the childcare crisis. If we're having a pay gap problem, and we're having a mother pay gap problem that's a little bit worse than what women are dealing with, on top of that, we've got a childcare crisis that already existed before COVID again. This data was from before the pandemic happened. And just for a little perspective, I know this is a lot of data, but just to think about that, $11,000 per year is now the average per child for childcare. So it's quite a bit more than state tuition college. And then a childcare worker earns less than $27,000 a year. So just that disparity alone, how high of an expense and how low of income is, it's kind of beyond crisis. It's kind of a catastrophe at this point. So in the US, the average family spends 10 to 15% of their income on childcare, which 10% is considered affordable. Anything over 10% is considered unaffordable. But a single mom will pay 36% of her income into childcare. And in California, the disparity is so big that it's half of a single mom's income is the average childcare cost. So a lot of data, but basically what we're seeing here is this is a completely unsustainable situation. And then we had the pandemic hit. So what happened when the pandemic hit is everybody went home, right? Everybody went home, kids went home, moms went home. And slowly people started going back to work. But what we saw, what we've been seeing over the past 2 years is that a lot of mothers didn't go back to work. And right now we've got about 3.5 million mothers that didn't go back to work. And it's technically right around 53.8. So more than half of the net jobs lost since the pandemic were moms. Why did they not go back to work? They have a pay gap problem. There's childcare crisis, and now their options are so few that they essentially, out of necessity, have started to move towards entrepreneurship. So there's a couple different reasons people choose entrepreneurship. Some people get big opportunities and they get to choose their path and their world is their oyster. And other people choose entrepreneurship because they're desperate and they have no other options, and that is the way to survive. So a necessity-driven entrepreneur is technically somebody who's completely guided by that economic necessity. They just don't have any other options. They're not sufficient to meet their needs. So I'm theorizing that this is what women are doing. And the reason I feel like that is probably correct is because in other parts of the world, we see the biggest entrepreneurship among females is also where we see the biggest pay gaps. So in Angola, 40% of women, adult women, are entrepreneurs. And in Latin America, 50% of entrepreneurs are women. And if you can see here, the countries with the largest pay gaps, Angola has the largest pay gap in the world. Interestingly enough, France is my outlier, and I'm probably going to have to do a little extra research to figure out why France is the second largest pay gap in the world. But down from there is Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Argentina, it just goes on. So essentially, I can see the correlation between pay gaps and the drive for female entrepreneurship. But that's just my research here. You can draw your own conclusions. So another little myth that I want to kind of bust is this side hustle. And it's kind of implied when you say side hustle that it's just not a main hustle, that it's just a side hustle. And so once again, it feels insignificant. And I just wanted to point out, after doing some research, I realized that 34% of Americans have a side hustle. And I'm going to guess that quite a few of those are probably necessity-based entrepreneurs that are just looking to make a little extra cash on the side. And once again, we've got people who have children under 18. They're more likely to have a side hustle. And a side hustle typically doesn't make a whole lot of money. 88% of the businesses, of these small businesses are making less than $100,000 a year. That's not the point. The point is that there's now more economic stability. 34% of Americans use that as a tool for more stability and security. So side hustle is not insignificant, and I just want to make sure that that doesn't get framed that way among women entrepreneurs. So the other little kind of myth that I wanted to make sure that women aren't hanging on to is that this is keeping them from their children or not bringing something good into their children's lives, because again, a lot of mompreneurs are feeling like they work so much, more than 50 hours a week in childcare on top of their day jobs is kind of what 30% of moms are saying. And they feel like it's never enough. I hear that over and over. But then I also hear a lot of moms, like my friend Kelly, when I asked her, how is this affecting your kids? And she thinks she's giving her kids amazing life skills. She says, especially her daughters, that they get to see how she, hustles, how she is her own boss, how if she needs money, she gets it, how she's able to provide work for her kids to do and earn their own money. So, you know, I hear moms over and over saying things like, that this is such a good thing for their kids. Like it couldn't not be, even though they're kind of dragging them around um, work stuff and they're a little less available. They feel like this is just an amazing life skills that they're teaching their kids. So I just want people to remember that as they're feeling totally strapped and struggling and spread super thin, that your kids are looking at you going, man, I am so proud of my mom. Look at how she hustles. So, and just another little myth is kind of around financial successes. I just want to, and I did a little research just to kind of figure out where women and moms are sitting in financial successes. And I just want to dispel the myth that women are not performing the same way men are. So, typically most female businesses are self-funded, which is actually pretty cool because they're very aware of how much money they're putting into their business and they probably saved it, they probably earned it. And then a lot of women do crowdfunding, and they tend to have a success rate of about 5% higher than men. And that's once again because they connect with their audience. They use social and environmental causes. They bring their families and their children into it. So that's just kind of like showing that women are really having a lot of success in how they market themselves. So a lot of women don't ask for bank funding, actually 10% less than men. And when they do get funding, they're asking for quite a bit less. They're really not taking a lot of debt, and they really don't tend to put a lot of investment into their company. So actually, I'm also seeing that women are growing their businesses at a rate of 10% more than men, which was really interesting because I'm an accountant and I do financial analysis, and I haven't heard any actual data numbers, but I can say that if a woman takes less upfront investment and she doesn't carry debt and she returns her investment quicker, I'm seeing a much less risky investment. I see that women are less leveraged. I see better financial ratios here. And actually, I'm suspecting that this means that the ROI, the return on investment for a woman, would generally be higher than a man. But that's just my assumption based on what I know about the relationships of these numbers. So just keeping that in mind, we measure ourselves up to the men on performance a lot, but these are very good performance metrics in my book. So the conclusions that I was hoping that you would draw from this are just essentially, that the small business isn't small, that women entrepreneurs are not an insignificant part of it, that women entrepreneurs are hustling more than most, and that, you know, uh, that moms feel connected with each other, and understanding each other's stories, really, that we're all feeling a little insecure about what we're doing. We're all a little unsure about how we're performing. We feel guilty about what we do, that we don't work enough for our families. Yet I'm seeing just something worth celebrating here. So I just wanted to take some time to share these things with you, and I'm hoping you feel validated. I hope there's a little more inspiration around what you're doing, and that you just understand that you're not alone in all of these things that you're going through. So also, I just wanted to make sure that if all the moms out there, if they need any help with any of these things, at the Women's Entrepreneurship and Leadership Lab, we do advising services, we teach classes, connect you with mentors, do networking. So all my contacts are there if anybody would like to reach out, and I would be happy to answer any questions as well.
Right, well, thank you for the presentation. And also just draw your attention to the chat window. Jason did post a link to a YouTube video on starting a side hustle. So if you didn't see that, you might want to click on that. We did have two questions come in while you were presenting. The first one was when you were talking about negotiating for salaries, that you had been through some salary or negotiation training. Where can somebody find access to that negotiating training or something like that that you attended?
Oh gosh, well, actually, that's something I learned in business school. It was just kind of popped in all the time, but that is a great question, and I feel like I would love to look out and see if I could find a resource, maybe create one, because it is an important thing. Learning a lot about just even being a woman and using the correct body language and things like that. So I would like to connect with whoever asked that.
All right. Yeah. And since you sent that to me privately, if you want to follow up with me, I'd be happy to connect you if you want me to for more information there too. So one more question before I open it up to general questions here was, we've seen a lot more remote work over the last couple years. Do you feel that will be helpful in helping mothers balance parenthood and work obligations?
Yeah, I mean, oh, can you hear me? Yeah, I believe it has. That's what I do, and it's really helped me. Again, personal experience. I'm able to keep my house clean and orderly, and feel like I have a little more connection with what's going on with my kids, just being right here when they come home from school. So yeah, absolutely, from personal experience.
All right, and I'll point out one more item here in the chat window, and then I'll open it up to anybody that would like to ask a question. Jen posted a link there to a syllabus for a negotiation course that the University of Montana offers, and it looks like it's a kind of 2-weekend affair or 3-weekend affair. So it's kind of maybe not targeted directly for college students. So maybe that's an opportunity that might fit for one of you as well. So. All right. Are there any questions from the group here, either via chat or you're welcome to unmute? I am working with somebody on refining a question in the chat window here. All right, here's another question. Well, I'm working back and forth with somebody else here. Any tips for moms that want to get started in their own business?
Yes, so many. Give me a call. My biggest tip would just be to reach out and start talking, to one of these economic development groups. The one I work for is the W.E.L.L, WBC. If that one fits what you're looking for, we've worked specifically with women. So we have a lot of educational resources. We've got sort of like a technology platform you can take little classes from once you join the network, and then consulting services are all free. I meet with people as much as they need, and yeah, if there's other specific needs, we have lots of other groups like the SBDC, PTech, different specific needs. We could steer them in the right direction. So please reach out.
All right. Well, that other question was a technical issue, so nothing to follow up on there. Looks like that's all the questions that we've got so far. Are there any other comments or topics that you wanted to share with everyone?
Hmm.
Nothing coming to mind at the moment. All right. One last call for any additional questions. All right. Well, let me just remind everyone that June 2nd will be our June small business webinar series, and we'll have Alistair Stewart talking about business transition readiness. So mark your calendars for June 2nd. We'll have the same registration and kind of marketing reminder emails that'll go out next month as well. So mark your calendars for that. Marguerite, did you have any final comments you wanted to leave the group with?
Happy Mother's Day. I hope everybody has a great weekend, gives themselves some credit, and yeah, just enjoy being a mom.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And yes, happy Mother's Day to everyone a couple of days early. We will post a recording of today's session to our website and also a copy of these slides. And I think Marguerite has a few resources on the next couple slides. So if you want to follow those links, that'll be pretty easy to do from the copy that we post to the website. So with that, everyone, please have a great day. And I hope to see you on June 2nd.